thank you, Deirdre, for the invitation, and David for the kind introduction. As David mentioned, he worked for me last year in Congress, and I do have to say that David is happier now. I can tell he's a lot happier. So, but we were sad to see David go. He was a tremendous part of our team for a few months, and I hope to see more of you in Washington down the road. But I'm grateful to be back here today to have a chance to share some thoughts with you. It definitely makes me nostalgic for my days here at Wharton, but I'm glad to be back for at least today to talk to you a little bit about the future of the Republican Party. Now, as many of you know, and as you've seen in the presidential race, there are many voices in the Republican Party. The same is true in the Democratic Party. We see that all on display during a year like this. And in my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful parts of our system, although it's messy, and we see that especially these days. But we get to decide. We hear the good ideas, we hear the bad ideas, and then we can choose the way forward. And I believe that our country is at an important point in its history, and the decisions we make over the next year will drive, of course, the direction that our country takes. And so as we're in this process of selecting a new president and deciding who goes back to Congress and which senators are elected, there's a principle that I think can help us make wise decisions. It's an American ideal. And that ideal is the right to pursue happiness. And that's what I want to talk to you more about today. For years when I've lived in Washington between foreign assignments or now while working in Congress, I've liked to visit the national monuments late at night. I do it because late at night, nobody's around, it's quiet, and it helps me stay motivated and to reflect on what's important for our country. One night recently, I visited the Jefferson Memorial, and on the wall there is an inscription from the Declaration of Independence, which, as you know, Jefferson authored, and it starts off, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Then after I was done there, I walked behind the Jefferson Memorial over to the George Mason Memorial and read words from his Virginia Bill of Rights, which were, all men are born equally free and independent and have certain inherent natural rights, among which are the enjoyment of life and liberty, the means of acquiring and possessing property, and pursuing and obtaining happiness. Now, we've all heard these words many times before. Many times. But that night, they stood out to me as strange, I guess, that they would have been something that our founders isolated as so fundamental to the founding of our country. We think a lot about our right to vote, our property rights, our rights of free speech, rights to a fair trial, these sorts of rights. But the right to pursue happiness seems different from those to me. It did that night, and still today it does to me now. Now, as I thought more about it, though, and read more about it, I learned that what Jefferson and Mason understood, and others, was that beyond anything else, the right to pursue and obtain happiness was fundamental to their being. They knew that beyond anything else, that was their inherent purpose. And they knew that it would be our inherent purpose, and really the purpose of the entire world, of mankind. And so they set about the creation of this nation with that purpose in mind, aligning our nation with that fundamental right. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us that this is the case. We're all wired in this way. It's our nature. We make decisions all day long, big and small, in an attempt to maximize our happiness when we get out of bed, where we study, what we study, who we talk to, who our friends are, what we do for work. All of these things we decide even without thinking about it with the goal of maximizing our happiness, either in the short term or the long term. And only we can decide how to do that. We're all individuals. We all have different talents. We all have different personalities and dreams. And so only we can decide for ourselves how best to pursue them. Now, as we know, these freedoms did not reach, this
Kind of
freedom
freedom.
did not reach everyone immediately in our country. We had to go through a civil war, the civil rights movement, and suffrage for a lot of these fundamental rights to reach more of us. But from their early words, our course was set. The legal recognition of these rights put us on track to thrive as a country, as individuals and also as a country. Since then, we've seen immense inventions in the scientific space, tremendous contributions to the arts. I mean, you just think about what started, say, with Edison with the long-lasting light bulb, and then with Bell with the telephone, and Ford with the Model T, the Wright brothers with airplanes, and then on and on and on. The washing machine, the television, the integrated circuits, the personal computer, key contributions to the internet. All of these things happened because individuals were pursuing their happiness. But the important piece of that is that not only did they reach their potential or pursue their dreams individually, but that benefited us collectively. And I think that's a very, very important concept for us to internalize. So now more recently, we see new technologies are opening the door for us even more, removing even more barriers for us to pursue our dreams. I mean, one basic one is social networking now. You can share ideas instantly and globally, very easily, with essentially no cost. Freelancing sites like Upwork allow engineers and graphic designers to market their skills to potential customers around the world. You have Periscope and Meerkat allow us to broadcast video content from the palms of our hands. Sharing economy platforms like Airbnb and TaskRabbit allow us to leverage our own resources to meet the needs of others without the support of a traditional corporation to get in the middle of us. Crowdfunding sites allow people with big ideas to make contact with donors and investors who are big and small, who are pursuing their own happiness by providing needed capital to help get ideas off the ground. And there are so many others, but we are perhaps more empowered now because of these technologies, in addition to the respect for our rights, increased respect for our rights, than we have ever been before. It was always our nature, an inherent right, but now we are in a much better place. But don't misunderstand this. This isn't about making more money for the sake of making more money. It's